Hey guys. Okay, so today I wanted to just really briefly explain something I've been working on because it's really cool. It's something I've been learning about the Objective-C messaging at runtime because Objective-C, as you probably know, doesn't support multiple inheritance, and some languages like C++ do. But one of the things which little known about Objective-C is it does kind of support forwarding of messages. So I wanted to use this because I wanted to do some validation on a UI text field, and the idea was to a bit like Rails. If anyone to use Rails, you probably know what I'm talking about, but you can easily set validations on your model, and I wanted to do that on the text field. So for example, you pass in a validator, say this text field must always have numbers entered, or it must have a particular regex, or it might you just have the presence of some text in it before the form has been submitted, those kinds of validations. So in this is the code that I'd like to write. It's not finished yet, but we've got, here we go. So these are my text fields, and I've got a first name text field, and the text field takes an array of validators, and the validators say it validates the presence of text, it validates the uniqueness of the text, and I haven't implemented this yet, but this will be the display block. So the view controller will take over the feedback from these validators that fail and report them to the user. So that's pretty cool. So all you need to do is give a text field some validators, and then the view controller displays what to do with failed validators. And the way I've achieved this so far is I've subclassed text field, and what I've done is I've created a text field, a custom text field delegate object which implements the UI text field delegate, and in the implementation, this is for the text field delegate, I've used these two methods here. So the first one is responds to selector, and the second one is forwarding target for selector. Now the first one just says that the object, because basically before when you send a message to an object, you can send any message you like. The runtime will only crash. It will crash the code if you send a message, for example, that the object doesn't respond to. So what we do is we override this, and I return if our text field delegate responds to that selector, or the selector should change characters in range, because my object, which does the actual validation, is looking at should change characters in range, and it does the validation with that, although you can see the empty for loop, it isn't finished yet. But the actual text field delegate then gets forwarded that message. So what it does is when the Objective-C runtime finds out that that this object doesn't actually respond to that message, it then calls forwarding target for selector. So then what I do is I check if the text field delegate responds to that selector, and if it does, then I return that object, and then the Obj-C runtime will then go back and send that message to the delegate. Of course, if we've sent a completely wrong message that isn't implemented by that delegate, then it will forward it on to the superclass, which is the NS object, and in that case it probably will fail. So this is really useful for, like I said, subclassing maybe a UI text field, but you want to override some of the functionality of the delegate messages, for example, and here I've done that. So basically this message is going to be called first, and then the real delegate will, if it responds to that selector, will get that message called, and any other messages in the UI text field protocol, UI text field delegate protocol will be forwarded that message in here. Yeah, so that's quite cool. If you've got any questions or you want to find out a bit more about what I'm doing with these validators, then let me know. But here's a sneak peek of how it works. So this is the basic block, the UI text field validator block, and I've just implemented the first one here. I'm working through these ones, but you say validator validates presence of, and it returns a block for you. And this one just looks at the text field and checks whether the string is nil or it's about to be length of 0 or greater than, and then it returns yes or no, and the yes or no obviously indicates that the block has failed or succeeded. And that's it really. But I really like this design of passing blocks of code rather than the messages. So this is just a chunk of code, and it's going to do that. It's really reusable, and it's quite a nice way of doing it. Yeah, so that's it. Thanks a lot.